potentially defending a creepazoid, but I'm going to do it a little bit.
You're going to defend this guy?
Just a teeny bit from if his partner is saying he started talking about this while we were role-playing, it is entirely possible that this guy had a thing for Asian schoolgirls, and this girl happened to be in the news, so he started talking about her.
Oh, I think John is absolutely not an actual suspect.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that he may have started saying this stuff.
Or he might have been seeing some other chick named Carmen.
Yeah, and his partner is just like, what the... Oh, dude, that is not okay. And... You know, she gets mad, she spills a beer on him, she runs away, and that's the end of that. And he's thinking, okay, it's no big deal, except then she turns around and tells the cops.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that John is... I think the police did their due diligence, but I think overall John is not a good suspect.
But he's on the top 7, isn't he?
No.
Oh, okay. See, I thought John was in the top 7. That's why I was...
Is he in the other 32?
He's in the other 32.
Okay.
He's not in the 7 where they're like, get this person immediately.
Okay. Yeah. He's just one of the ones that's widely reported on. Got it. Okay.
Because, I don't know, they gave a name to him, I guess. I don't know. The next suspect we're going to talk about is, we're going to call him Prime, a.k.a. the lecturer, a.k.a. No Name McGee. He is the prime
Pervy
suspect.
Pants.
He is Mr. Pervy Pants. He is the prime suspect for this case, though, again, they can't. There's no evidence. Like, there's no evidence at all. But the lecturer is a 74-year-old former university lecturer and director of a construction and design firm. In the 70s, he spent 10 years in jail for rapes and attacks at knife point on young women and girls. And a source said that he has slides. You guys remember slides?
Oh, yeah.
He has slides of the girls that were abducted on a bed, but the police did an extensive investigation. They were unable to find it. And in fact, the Sun reached out to this person because they have the name. Yeah, the tabloid. They have the name. They again, I mean, I think that it's fair to not release the names of these people because you don't want a witch hunt to happen, but they reached out to this person and he said, oh yeah, I know they think I did it. I didn't, but I know that I'm their prime suspect.
Oh, there's at least one other guy who also said, "Oh yeah, no, I knew they followed me for years. They weren't clever about it at all."
Yeah. So he's the strongest suspect, and that is literally all we know about him. Congratulations. Yeah.
Not even a first name.
No. And then the final suspect
Earons?
Is Earons. This is not an episode about Earons.
By the way, tell people who don't know who that is
the
East Area Rapist.
Original Night Stalker.
Yeah, Earons.
That's the abbreviation.
Again, may even not be the same person.
True.
But
that's true.
Please don't send us angry emails about that statement.
It's another episode for another time that we will maybe eventually sometime do. But I saw this speculation on a couple of forums, and I thought it was kind of interesting and compelling. I don't think it actually is, but there's some speculation that Earons traveled to Australia after his prolific attacks in California in the 70s. His last official attack in California was 86, and then the first Mr. Cruel attack was 87, so the timeline could match up. It could also explain the weird accents and voices, but...
Although the MOs were different.
The MOs were very different.
And the age demographic isn't the same.
Well, I will say, when you look at the confirmed Earons cases, his victims do get progressively younger as he evolves. I hate that term for these.
As he progresses?
Yeah, as he progresses on his spiral of
nastiness.
Pervydom.
Horrible.
Pervydom. I like that
But
phrasing.
that's a pretty big leap. He's... Earons attacked an 18-year-old, and then to move directly onto like an 11-year-old is a pretty big leap. And again, one of the big things that draws people to the Earon cases is all of the documents and the letters that are attached to that case. That there's none of that here. So I don't think it's a solid theory, but I thought it was an interesting thought experiment, I guess.
Well,
in it.
It is. I think.
Frankly, I think the police know who it is. They just don't have enough evidence.
Well, there's all
which is
kinds of
really a huge bummer.
There's all kinds of speculation that this guy, in some way, is connected to the school system in the area. You talked about this before, Devin, is the fact that they happen over typically around school holidays.
They happen around school holidays. You actually mentioned that when you were reading the profile.
Oh, I remember.
They happen
I blanked
around
that out.
school holidays, and they also, 2 of the girls went to the same school, so it's possible that it was a teacher from that school. I don't know. There again in the profile that the Mr. Cruel would have shown an interest in children, so. There was a lot of speculation that he was a teacher of some kind or in the school system in some way. And again, that's why that prime suspect, he was a university lecturer. So people thought maybe that would be the connection, but I don't know. I find this case so unsatisfying.
There's
for
not,
all of the reasons.
there's not much to hang on to.
Well, but Joe, I think that if we're if there's he worked in the school system, I don't buy that. I buy what Joe said earlier, which is
forensic police.
He's in because he had so much apparent knowledge of how the investigation process worked.
On the other hand, the argument could be made that he was just obsessive compulsive and needed them to be clean. He cleaned them before and after every single attack.
Yeah, but all of the false leads that he creates.
Yeah,
that's something that makes me wonder.
There's some thoroughness there.
Well, there's some. Again, we're kind of running into speculation here, but
that's all we got left.
I know, but for me, they're young girls. I presume that one of the turn-ons for the young girl is the purity of it. So he would want them to be clean before, and then he would view them as soiled until he could clean them again afterwards. I think there's I'm sure a psychologist could get really deep into this, but I agree. I think that there is some forensic knowledge there, but maybe he was a forensic teacher.
Or it could have been he just read about stuff like that.
Well, yeah, you think about guys like morticians that have a connection to police departments. They would know that. They would glean that kind of information from, if nothing else, their encounters. There's a whole... That's why I always feel let down by this, because everybody says he must be involved in the school system when there's this whole other realms of ways that he could have been connected and known the things that he seems to have known.
I think people think school system because that allows for the time for the meticulous planning. He stalked these families for at least weeks at a time before he carried out the attacks. He learned their schedules. He knew when they were there and when they weren't there, and timed and that they would just be perfect. He was obviously watching that house. He was obviously watching Shannon's house because the parents went to sleep, and then John immediately was like, I can't go to sleep, and stayed up for 4.5 more hours.
Yeah,
obviously, and then a half an hour later, Mr. Cruel busts in.
He waits for the lights to go out. Yeah.
He sat and waited and watched this house for the majority of the night. These are insanely meticulously planned things. And so I think one of the reasons that people think maybe a teacher is that on that break, he would have had time to actually devote that amount of time.
But breaks are only for days.
No.
And not some. I'm talking about not some. Well, I guess it is all summer break.
There was a summer break and Christmas break are pretty much the 2 times that these attacks happen.
Now,
so it's when there's weeks at a time.
Does Australia have a summer recess, summer break like we have?
They do okay.
But it would be in our winter, right?
Well, but they do it in that time, but it's not always in the same time frame we're used to. But that's why, I don't think that because he's a teacher, he had all this spare time. He could be a part-time janitor for all we frickin' know, and he has nothing to do but every week go park next to this house and eat a sandwich and watch and memorize their actions. That's a random example, but
I know a guy who's just from a wealthy family. He doesn't have to work. There's also other people out there that have jobs that are flexible. They're self-employed. And they can. So I don't buy the school system thing myself.
Yeah, that's really where my entire complaint comes from.
That's fair.
But I kind of suspect that he must be on the list of the 7 because obviously he stopped. He must have stopped for a reason.
Yeah, or he died. Or he moved, or
he could have just been having a lunchtime conversation with a coworker and just sort of said, I kind of had these fantasies about schoolgirls. The guy said, yeah, too bad that's illegal, Fred, but you can go to Thailand. And Fred's like, Thailand?
I mean, really, it's true. And
it's a hop, skip, jump away, Fred. I mean, you haven't heard about pervs going to Thailand? Yeah, maybe he discovered that.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to be done with this.
Oh,
okay.
please.
Yeah, no.
No, please. I don't want to do this anymore.
I mean, hopefully he didn't discover Thailand. Hopefully he just got cancer and died,
The worst kind of
hopefully,
cancer.
hopefully that happened, but
the kind that locked him in a bed in agony for years.
Yeah. I hope that as well.
That would be good. Yeah.
So,
that seems appropriate.
Yeah. We will post some links to some research on our website, where you can also download and listen to the show, as well as find links to our merchandise stores.
Ooh, yeah.
That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can obviously stream us pretty much anywhere. You probably know where you're finding your podcasts. If you have the option to rate and review and subscribe on whatever service you provide or you get your podcast from, please do so.
Give us a good rating.
You can find us on social media. We've got a Facebook group and a page, so like the page and join the group. Lots of great discussion happens there. We have a Twitter. It's Thinkin' Sideways Podcast. Nope, it's just Thinkin' Sideways.
No G.
Yep, drop the G.
Somebody forgot
no G
the G.
No podcast.
And then we also have a subreddit, which there are episode discussions and things like that happen there. And that's Thinking Sideways. If you have suggestions like this one or anything, general accolades, whatever, we read and respond to every single one of our emails. It may take us a couple days. But you can drop us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And I think that takes care of all of the housekeeping.
I believe it do.
So all of that having been said, we are going to get out of here and cry for the next 4 days.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got no clever puns for this one.
No.
Not that I ever do. Anyway.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, next week.
This episode of Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by the Tupac is definitely dead, so stop looking for him Foundation. Instead, it's brought to you by us and CrimeCon. If you don't know, I'm sure you do, but if you don't, in exactly 1 week, we will be at CrimeCon in Indianapolis, Indiana. There are day passes available for those of you who may not be able to afford the weekend passes. Also, if you can't afford to go, we're going to do a free meetup in Indianapolis, so stay tuned on social media. We'll tweet out a location probably in the next day or two, and a time as well. And we'd love to see you, love to meet you, just come on out and really just celebrate with us. We really hope we'll see you then, and cheers.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned. I don't know.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined as always by
Steve
and
Devin.
And of course, let me say once again, I'm Joe. So
always has to have the last word.
I know, because I'm the important one.
Well, at least I'm the pretty one.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Devin's the smart one.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our mystery for this week. This is another maritime mystery, which I know everybody loves, right?
And we're surprised it's Joe doing it too.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah, this is a fun little sort of murder on the high seas thing. This is Murder on the Herbert Fuller.
Or what's your subtitle?
Unpleasantness on the high seas.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Herbert Fuller was actually a ship, a 19th century ship. It was a barkentine. And let me tell you, first off, I know you guys are dying to know what a barkentine was, because I don't think they build them anymore, frankly.
I don't believe they do.
Yeah. A barkentine is
a ship.
Yeah, it's a ship. It's a schooner rig that's
it's a
3 or 4.
schooner.
It's a schooner, but instead of having 100% fore and aft sails like you usually see on sailboats, it's got one of the foremast is square rigged. And that's different from, say, a bark. A bark is a similar rig, but the mainmast and the foremast are square rigged.
What's that mean? Is it important?
The front and the middle one.
I don't know what square rig means.
The mast in the very front is the one he's talking about, and it is a square piece of canvas instead of a triangular.
Yeah,
it's really that simple.
Well, you know, no. It's got yard arms. I mean, it is a square piece of canvas.
No,
it's got yard arms hanging at right angles to the mast.
Right,
and
but
then the sail hangs down.
But my question was that it's as simple as saying it's square rigged versus what's the other one?
Fore and aft.
What's the other kind
Triangular.
of rigging? Triangular rig?
Yeah, the fore and aft. Well, that's what fore and aft is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Except for gaff rigs, which are more trapezoidal rather than triangular.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Which is
okay.
a rhombus sail.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we learned our nautical lesson for the day, we know what a barkentine is.
Next week we're going to show you how to tie a knot.
Exactly. The bowline. A handy knot, by the way.
Yeah.
So our barkentine, the Herbert Fuller, left Boston on Friday, July 3rd, 1896. And it had a load of lumber. It was headed for Rosario, Argentina. Long way to go to haul wood, but, hey, whatever.
I thought they had trees there, but I'm wrong.
I was going to say the wood in America is vastly superior to any other wood.
It really is, yeah. I'm actually, that was one of the things that was confusing to me. Argentina doesn't really have much in the way of hardwoods, but on the other hand, Brazil does, and they're kind of like not that far away. So
I wonder
prices.
Well, prices or like size.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we had buttload of
big
really
trees.
giant old growth trees before we came in and started to cut them all down. So,
maybe that was it.
if they needed larger lumber, it'd probably come from North America, not South America.
Maybe that was it, or maybe they just didn't have the technology to mill it down to toothpicks. They had to have us do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a ship full of toothpicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's the story. They had lumber. They were heading for Argentina. Here's the crew members, small crew. There was a captain, Charles Nash. His wife, Laura Nash, went to sea with him, and she was described by the press as well endowed, whatever that means.
Well, we know what that means.
We
but
love
why?
19th century press.
Like, why?
I don't know. Well, it might have been something different.
It was
this
a slow
over
news
100
day.
years ago.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Well, yeah, and, one of the other members of the crew was a half black guy, what they called a mulatto. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Spencer. He was a steward, and this news account that I read, I think it was in the New York Times, said Jonathan Stewart, colored, steward, ship steward. They didn't say that. They didn't say, white for any of the other people.
No. That's what it was like back then.
To see that stuff.
Okay, back to our cast. So, captain and his wife, Laura Nash, and then 9 crew members and 1 passenger. The passenger was Lester Monks, middle name Hawthorne. Lester Hawthorne Monks.
Color, no, white.
No, he was white, yeah. White, Harvard. 20 years old, Harvard student who was having bronchial issues, apparently. And he decided that he thought that a long sea journey would be good for his bronchial issues.
I bet some doctor was like, yeah, I know what's good for you. Get you on a ship.
It's exactly what happened. His doctor told him to do it because the sea air would clear his lungs. It's like when they would say, you've got tuberculosis. You should move to the country and get the clean country air and it will heal you.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I watch a lot of Agatha Christie's Poirot. And it's like my favorite thing is like he's suffering from obesity in one episode and they're like, do you know what you need? The sea air. That'll cure you. So they send him to an island. Like
it has nothing to do with all of the biscuits you're eating.
No, it's definitely, you just need the sea air.
Yeah, my favorite was, you're not feeling well, let's take a little blood. That'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
That'll cure you.
We got to drain you of the bad blood.
Yeah, and then, that God knows how many people got killed by their own doctors back in those days.
Oh, yeah. You got to love a good barber.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Joe, okay, we got off track here. But how many people are in the crew total? Because I thought I saw a different number than what you have. Is why I'm asking.
I think, well, if you count the captain, we're talking like 10.
Okay, that's what's screwing me up.
Yeah,
okay.
And then but there were 2 others, his wife and then Lester Monks.
Right, and that's okay. So that's where the variance that I saw was. Okay, got it.
Real quickly, like the crew. The first mate was Thomas Bram. For full name, Thomas Mead Chambers Bram.
White.
Yeah, white, Yeah. Second mate.
Sorry.
The second mate was August Blomberg, who was a Russian Finn.
White.
Yeah, white guy. Jonathan Spencer, who was the non-white guy, the steward, who apparently was the only guy who had sailed with Captain Nash before on this particular voyage. And then the regular old seaman type guys, Henry J. Slice, who was a German who was naturalized American. Francis Lohiak, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, it doesn't matter, he was French. He was a deserter from the French Navy. Hendrik Purdock Holland, Folk Vossen, Oscar Anderson, Julius Westerberg, all from Sweden. And Julius for some reason, was called Charlie Brown.
That's a weird nickname.
For a Swedish guy named Julius Westerberg. I don't know. I don't get it either, but he was Charlie Brown.
Did he wear a sweater that had a zigzag pattern on it?
Apparently he did. So as I said already, the Herbert Fuller left Boston July 3rd, headed south-southeast for about 10 days before things went all to hell. And then on the night of July 13th to the 14th was when things did take a turn for the worse. It was in the mid-Atlantic, about halfway between Portugal and the United States, about 400 miles south of Bermuda. And after midnight, there were only 4 men awake, supposedly anyway, but maybe as many as 5 people awake. Thomas Bram, of course, the first mate. Charlie Brown, who was at the helm. Francis Lahiac, or the unpronounceable French guy. And Hendrik Purdock, and they were forward as serving as lookouts. Captain Nash was asleep in the chart room. The chart room was aft of the main cabin, between the main cabin and the steering station. Apparently the captain slept there quite often. Maybe he liked to give his wife space. Also, the captain was often very close to the helm.
Well, but also just it happened often that, I mean, as recently as the 1950s, it was typical for married people to sleep in separate beds. Sometimes separate bedrooms.
And, I mean, we've got a map here, and if you look at the schematic of the layout of the rooms, they look very big. I mean, I'm not surprised that they're not that big. So 2 people squeezed into one room,
they'd be tiny.
It's kind of tight quarters.
And actually, frankly, the 2 largest rooms are the captain's room and the captain's wife's room.
Yeah.
That's how it looks like, right? So, I mean, you would...
Well, as far as sleeping quarters, yeah, they are. Well, the captain's room and the captain's wife's room were the same room.
You're looking at the after cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the after cabin.
That's the one that had the couch in it that he was sleeping on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not his stateroom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rewind. Delete. Yeah. And it's known that he was sleeping there because that was reported later by Henry Slice, who was at the wheel from before. I don't know when he began, but he was at the wheel until midnight when he was spelled by Charlie Brown.
I actually just realized this guy has a very unfortunate name based on...
Henry Slice?
Yeah, based on what happened in this story.
I know. I'm surprised he didn't get arrested and sent to jail for this. Hank Slice. But he said there's a window. You can actually have a drawing here. You can see this little window that's into the chart room right here, over on the side there. But anyway, this small window, which is I think 11 by 16 inches about, looks into the chart room, and he said from his station at the wheel, he could see the captain's leg from about the knee on down.
Well,
on a cot in the chart room.
And as we know, that is the most important part of the leg for telling if somebody's alive or sleeping.
Or telling if they're the captain or not.
Yeah.
It's or telling if it's even a human being rather versus 2 prop legs that the captain put there while the captain went off and did something else, met with the aliens. I mean, could have been it, but that's all he saw. Yeah. So he assumed that was a captain.
Yeah, especially it could have just been 2, wooden pegs, because if I've learned anything about people who are captains, they all have peg legs, don't they?
Well, I have 1 peg leg.
Oh. Well, he said he could see the 1 leg.
Yeah, I could see. And
it was dark.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It was kind of dark, but anyway, he says he saw the captain. He thought the captain was there, but then he was spelled at midnight by Charlie Brown. Our passenger, Lester Monks, went to sleep around 8 p.m.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to make fun of the 20-year-old who's like, it's 8 p.m., time to turn in. But then I remembered he was super sick, so I felt bad.
I don't know if he was super sick or not.
He wasn't super sick.
I don't think there was a whole lot going on board the ship, actually.
No, I imagine there was a lot of boredom.
It would have been light out still, though.
Probably. I probably would have stayed awake a little later myself. Because, you're right, it was July in the mid-Atlantic. There should have been some light still.
Yeah.
But, well, no matter, whatever happened, he went to sleep around 8. And he was awoken in the middle of the night by a scream. Just like in the mystery novels. And that scream was no doubt from Laura Nash, who was being murdered. As it turns out, she does wind up getting killed in this story. And Monks said he sat up and listened because he was awoken by it, so he wasn't sure if he just dreamed it or what. And he started to lay his head back down on the bed, and then he hears another scream. So, well, guess it's real after all, he decided. So he gets up, he gets his revolver out, and he left his cabin. So Monk's cabin opened directly onto what's the main cabin, and from the main cabin it's like the chart room leads off there, the captain's stateroom leads off of there, the pantry.
It's literally just in the middle of all of the
It's like in the middle of a bunch of other other small cabins.
It's a big open room in the middle. Everything opens onto it.
Yeah. he goes into the main cabin, and then he goes aft to the chart room where the captain was sleeping, or where the captain had been sleeping, because the captain had been...
You're using boaty terms. Maybe...
Yeah, aft. I mean, he went back, towards the rear of the boat, of the ship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when he got there, it was kind of dark, but he saw that the captain's cot had been knocked over, and then he heard gurgling noises, and he approached the captain and saw him in the darkness. He couldn't make him out too closely, but the captain, again, as I said, was making these weird gurgling noises and nothing else. And then he reached out to touch him, and his hand came away with blood all over it. So he assumed something really bad had happened.
Like he'd fallen out of his cot and gotten a bloody nose?
Yeah.
Or bloody everything. So what he said he did then is he went forward to Laura Nash's cabin because, as he said later, he wanted to get her help with Captain Nash because he thought something had happened.
Yeah, like he had a bloody nose.
He had a bloody nose or something, and he's laying there gurgling. So so he runs to get her, and he at this point did not realize what had happened, but I'll tell you. I'll go ahead and clue you guys in. The captain got hacked up with an axe. Axe murder.
Hit in the head, I think 6 or 7 or
6, 7, 8 times,
something like that.
Yeah, pretty nasty gashes. But when Lester Monks gets to Laura's cabin, he finds out, she's been murdered too. And her arms, for you CSI types, had defensive wounds, so she had gouges and slashes in her forearms and her hands. But it didn't help her much. She got killed anyway. And I don't think he checked her pulse. He just went ahead and went forward. And apparently she was just obviously dead.
Yeah.
And then
sometimes that happens.
Yeah. So he goes up the forward passageway and up a ladder to the deck when he sees Charles Bram on deck. Charles Bram, first mate. Calls out to him, and but it turns out he's also got his gun with him. He's pointing it at Bram, which made Bram a little nervous.
You make me nervous.
Yeah, grabs a piece of wood and throws it at him, but he actually missed it anyway. Then Lester realized what he was doing, and then stopped pointing his gun at Bram. But then he says, the captain's been murdered, and he told Bram, you've got to come below and see. And then, according to Monks, Bram said, no. Although I'm not exactly sure how he said that. And all this stuff is kind of subjective.
Yeah.
And it comes back to haunt Bram's later on because he becomes the main suspect in the crime.
Yeah, all of these statements could be said in a multitude of ways to implicate guilt or not.
Yeah.
How does him saying no?
Like if he sees the bodies and he goes, no, people do things. You just kind of mutter something under your breath when you're in a stressful situation, or it could be the overly dramatic. No. Like he's
like
totally acting it.
Got it.
Super overacting.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff he says, I was like, he is such a bad actor. And then I thought, maybe he is just really pooping his pants.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't really know, and maybe some people have exaggerated a few things that he said too.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he said, no, what he really meant was it was dismay because he had gone down to the captain's stateroom with an axe to get a souvenir. He wanted the captain's ear, and he screwed up.
Didn't get it in time.
Yeah, he screwed up and missed. Oops.
Yeah. No.
That's
okay. So Bram says no.
And so Bram
was
talked into going below decks. They go after the chart room, light a lamp, and there's the captain who is still not quite dead, still dying. And then, according to Lester Monks, Bram just stood there and said nothing and did nothing to help Captain Nash.
Yeah, but it doesn't really sound like Monks did anything.
No, it doesn't appear that he did.
They kind of just stood there and they were like, well...
Dude, I can't do anything. I'm holding the lamp. You've got to help it. No,
I'm holding
the
my
lamp.
gun.
No, I have the revolver. I have the gun.
Let's get his wife. She can deal with him.
I guess in fairness to both of them, there really wasn't anything they could do. He was kind of a goner.
Yeah, although I've been watching. This has been like an ongoing discussion in my house because, as you guys know, I've been like kind of progressively pursuing more and more first aid training, right?
Wow.
And my significant other, who I live with, has no certification. He was a Boy Scout, and like that's the last time he took it. And so we have
he now knows everything he needs to know to survive in the wilderness.
They actually teach you everything you need to know in the Boy
It's this ongoing conversation of like, I'm always like, why aren't more people trained and why don't more people get involved? We drive past a car accident and I'm like, oh my God, is someone hurt? Like, we need to stop and make sure. And he's like, no, there's like 20 people there. And I'm like, and I think that happens a lot in these situations where people just kind of are like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to make it worse. I'm just going to stand here and I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do.
Especially in an
Sometimes,
age where first aid was
Like-
all but non-existent.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is probably why Monks was like, well, obviously, like, the first mate is going to know how to help this guy, right? He's going to know how to help him.
Not necessarily.
And, it's probably just, both of them standing there thinking the other guy's going to do something because they know, but, neither of them did.
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily think it's suspicious, but
No.
I think it wasn't great.
Not suspicious, but back in those days, you probably only make things worse by even touching them. You probably giving them an infection just by touching them. So yeah, just leave them alone.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a long tangent to get to my point.
That's
Sorry.
okay. Yeah. Okay, our guys, after standing over the captain for a moment or two, they go back up on deck, and then they're sort of wondering what to do. Lester Monks suggested they wake up the second mate, Blomberg. It was interesting to go back up on deck. I would have thought they would have had to go past the door to his stateroom anyway. And
Well,
so
there's two ways to
they
exit.
could have gone aft, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that they went aft. If they went aft, that would have taken them past the steering wheel, or the steering station where Charlie Brown was.
Couldn't they have gone out into the little hall area?
You mean that little corridor
Yeah,
that
yeah.
leads forward past the second mate's cabin? Right there, yeah.
No, the opposite way, but now I'm realizing that that actually also ducks out to where the
both
steering
exit.
column is.
Goes out to the steering area.
Never
yeah,
mind,
So, yeah.
okay.
So I'm pretty sure they went forward. Well, anyway, details. And then Bram supposedly told Monks that he thought there was a mutiny going on. And he believed that second mate Blomberg was forward with the rest of the crew, plotting with them. And Bram said that he was afraid the crew was going to murder him because apparently he said he'd been really hard on them, and he thought they would be looking for a little payback.
But
He's a little paranoid.
Yeah.
weren't Monks and Bram's Bram forward?
They would have been about amidships, I think.
They were on deck midship,
Yeah, they were on deck about midships.
and they couldn't
Yeah.
see. It was too dark. They
It
couldn't
was, it was
see all the way
dark, and
forward?
it was dark, and there's a cabin up towards the bow
Okay.
that people could have been behind.
Okay.
I don't know. But apparently, and this ship, I guess, was about 200 feet long.
Yeah,
so
It's pretty big.
Yeah,
big. Okay.
decent size.
Yeah.
Plenty
Yeah.
of room to hide a
Yeah.
mutinous crew.
So we've got
Yeah.
a paranoid first mate,
Very paranoid, and
a
actually,
murdered captain and wife.
a murdered captain and wife, and nobody knows where the second mate is.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
But we'll find out
right now.
after this commercial break. Just kidding. Yeah. Bram and Monks basically sat on the deck for the rest of the night. In a situation like that, where you've just seen a couple of people that have been hacked to death with an axe, I think sitting back to back on the deck with your guard up is not a bad idea.
I would agree, especially since you watched one of them die. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like they walked in on one really horrific scene and then watched
Watch
the end
the
of
captain
another
gurgling
one.
out
and
the
then-
last of his life.
I would probably sit up too.
Yeah, I think so. Now, after the sun came up, though, they decided to get the ship's steward, Spencer, who's apparently a fairly experienced sailor-type guy. Now, Spencer goes aft to check on the captain, and it turns out the captain is dead. He's been chopped 7 or 8 times in the head with an axe.
Was Spencer the only one who had also traveled with the captain
Yeah.
before?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And he also checked on Blomberg's cabin and the second mate, Blomberg, and it turns out Blomberg was dead, too.
Huh.
So they've got 3 corpses now.
Hacked up as well.
Yeah. So 3 dead people. And as you can naturally imagine, this began kind of a long, strained period for everybody on the ship, because they're frankly in the middle of the Atlantic. They're days and days sail away from anywhere.
Yeah.
And they've got an axe murderer on board.
Yeah.
Well.
Who's already killed,
3 people.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
third of their...
I mean, how many
Yeah.
great movies
Right.
has this inspired?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's
Yeah.
totally like kind of well, I won't say it. I'll say it later. Everybody was basically eyeing everybody else.
I would
And
too.
I would be. Yeah, I wouldn't turn my back on anybody. But one thing that everybody sort of agreed on afterwards was that nobody was covered in blood. And they were all looking each other over for blood, probably pretty carefully. So that we can deduce from that. Unless, of course, the killer was somebody else. If it was like Russian frogmen who came over the side, murdered,
Yeah,
went left.
like an
or if
alien.
or if it was like the Kraken, or something like that.
Or the French.
Yeah, or the French. Yeah.
Or stowaway.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Could have been a stowaway. But anyway, whoever it was, I assume it was one of them, and he had clever fellow that he was. Changed his clothes and washed himself up.
Looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, this looks suspicious."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't just change your clothes. I mean, you're going to have spatter all over your face and your hands
and your
stuff
hair
like that.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Although that does seem like that would,